Hello, my name is Sean Fard, or better known to the community as Tren, and I've come on board with Haptic more recently as the product manager for Thrill of the Fight 2. This patch focuses on creating a more realistic boxing simulation with the addition of the counter system, while also improving stability and reliability, cleaning up a lot of the work that came out with the 1.0 release. This update includes the new revised counter system tested in the public test channel, as well as improvements to body effort, haptic feedback upgrades for the Quest 3 and 3S, a global damage reduction which I'll talk about a little bit later, fixes for some glove and arm tracking issues, and a lot of bug fixes for career, tournament, ranked, records, spectator bug fixes, and a large internal code refactor which should hopefully help prevent future bugs from happening. The counter system is the highlight of this patch, so I want to take a little bit of time to explain how it works and also how it's different to the counter systems in the past. We've had systems in the past and we saw that they successfully reduced punch spam and raw volume, but they did have some flaws. Players could get punched first, then throw a punch afterwards and still be rewarded with a damage bonus. This made players afraid to actually throw the punch first, having no reward really for initiative, and leaning into offense could actually put you at a disadvantage. So we've redesigned the counter system with a very clear goal: to reward real boxing strategy and align closer to real life the risk and reward of decisions. So with the new counter system, reckless attacking or spamming without adequate defense leads to unfavorable exchanges. High volume offense is still viable, but only paired with defensive responsibility. Good timing, anticipation, positioning, the use of feints and traps and setups are now much more meaningful and rewarded with this counter system. Now, how does it work? Mechanically, a counter can only trigger when your opponent is in the motion of a punch, when they are actively throwing a punch. This includes the punch startup, the active punch, and the follow through. You cannot counter your opponent when they are just defending, when they're moving their guard, when they're feinting, or when they're moving around the ring. The counters are tied specifically to the intent and active motion of throwing a punch or recovering from it. Landing a counter rewards you with two things. First, a damage bonus of up to 25% depending on the timing. In our public test analytics, the medium counter damage bonus is up to around 11 to 12%. For reference, hitting a weak point right now will reward you with a flat 20% damage bonus. Now secondly, and this is the new part, counters will apply a damage reduction. If you counter a punch and that punch does still land after you've countered it, it will be reduced by up to 75%. This prevents health trading and removes the ability to simply eat a punch to throw your own. Now jabs and straights will benefit the most from the counter system, especially against things like looping, hooks, and overhands. Now counters also have a unique audio confirmation. There are distinct grunt sounds for hitting a counter to the head or to the body. This is to let you know in real time when you have landed a counter. Now these sounds are separate to the existing server confirmed hit grunts, so keep an eye out for them. I also want to clarify how latency and damage confirmation work. All damage in the game, including counter damage, is defender side authoritative. If you don't see yourself being hit on your screen, you won't take damage. Now in the same way, if you don't see yourself being countered on your screen, you won't take extra counter damage. This prevents ghost punches and unfair knockdowns, but it also means that as an attacker, a punch on your screen that lands doesn't always guarantee damage. If you don't hear a grunt from the opponent, it means that the hit did not land after latency. The server did not confirm the hit. You need to keep an eye out or keep an ear out for that grunt, because when you hear that, you know you actually did real damage, and it is the same thing for the counters. We've also made improvements to body effort. Punches that involve dropping down into your shot, sitting down on your shot, much like a body jab or a body cross from range, these are now rewarded with body effort much more effectively. You can still generate power by driving forward and upwards with leg drive, but now you can also step in and drop down with your punch, which is a real punch in real boxing, and that's why we want it to work in Thrill of the Fight 2 as well. Overall global damage has been reduced by approximately 5%. We felt that damage was a little bit too high, stuns were a little bit too frequent, and knockdowns were happening too quickly. We want knockdowns to really feel earned rather than a sudden flash of surprise events. We are also continuing to work on the damage system beyond this patch. Our goal is to shift a little bit of power away from stuns so that they are not the only avenue to getting a knockdown, while also reducing the damage amplification they do give. Haptic feedback has also been improved on Quest 3 and Quest 3S using an updated meta SDK support. Impacts should now feel a little bit more dense, more weightier, and a bit more realistic, while also being much better at distinguishing between multiple hits in a short amount of time. You may notice this when you, for example, punch the chin and then graze and hit the shoulder shortly after. Now, unfortunately, these upgrades only worked on the Quest 3 and 3S controllers, so Quest 2 will not really notice too much of a change. Hit registration and tracking is a very important thing for Thrill the Fight 2, and this patch includes some bug fixes around glove tracking issues. If a glove does end up behind you, it should now return to where it should be much faster. And this is just the first of many more tracking updates. We understand that tracking is a core function of the game, and we want it to look and feel right. We've also released a bunch of bug fixes, including a whole new code refactor. Now what this means basically is we've cleaned up a bunch of the stuff that we released with 1.0, which should fix existing bugs, but also reduce the frequency of new bugs popping up in the future. If you want to see exactly which bugs have been fixed, just have a look at the full patch notes below. Our main focus for this year is expanding our single player content, expanding our AI, and also exploring fitness-based content. We laid a lot of the foundation of the AI last year with the 1.0 release, but there's still a lot more we want to do. I'm really looking forward to expanding areas like AI capabilities, variety, adding new fighter styles, adding new customization options, and pushing towards much more natural looking animations. With that being said, multiplayer, damage, and physics will always be a focus for us. Improvements like guarding physics, hit registration, and overall boxing flow will continue to be worked on in the background. It's not something we're ever gonna put to the side or forget about. Finally, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's playing the game every day, and all of you who leave positive, negative, or neutral feedback. We really do care, and we genuinely appreciate everyone who takes the time to put in a message and put some feedback together. Thrill the Fight 2 is a passion project for Haptic. We've expanded the team in recent months, picking up people who were players first, players and fans, and added them to the team. That's how we know they really care, because they want to make the game as great as it can be so they can play it themselves. Thrill the Fight 1 has left very large footsteps for us to follow, but we are committed to making that happen. We are really in the Discord every single day, talking to players. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, what things you would like to see in the game in the future. It really helps guide our development, and it is a great way to stay in touch with the community and updates in real time. Now, that's all we have for this update, but stay tuned. There's a lot coming for 2026, and we are super excited to get going.